Welcome to the channel, the Liberty Coins Hub. And before you brush off that handful of pennies sitting in your cup holder or that old coin jar collecting dust in your closet, you need to hear this, because what if I told you that one simple penny, a coin you'd barely notice on the sidewalk, could be worth an absolute fortune that would change your entire life forever? Most people see a penny and think it's worthless, just another piece of copper barely worth bending down for. But the 2010 Lincoln penny hiding in circulation right now could be worth up to a staggering, mind-blowing $582 million. Yes, you heard that right. $582 million for a single penny that might be sitting in your pocket right this very second. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How could a 1-cent coin be worth more than entire estates, luxury yachts, and private islands combined? And that's exactly what we're going to uncover today. But before we dive deep into the incredible story behind this astronomical valuation, I need you to do something important. Stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we explore this 2010 penny, I'm going to reveal several other Lincoln pennies that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, coins from 1992, 2001, 2017, and more, each with their own shocking stories and values that will leave you absolutely speechless. But I won't spoil those just yet. You'll have to keep watching to discover which years to look for and why they're worth fortunes that could set you up for life. So let's talk about the 2010 Lincoln penny and why this particular coin has become the holy grail for collectors worldwide. The year 2010 was significant in the Lincoln penny series for several reasons. It marked the continuation of the Union Shield reverse design that was introduced in 2010, replacing the commemorative 2009 Lincoln bicentennial designs. In this transition year at the United States, Mint created some truly extraordinary opportunities for minting errors and varieties that collectors are desperately hunting for today. You see, when the Mint transitions between designs, when dies are being prepared and production lines are being adjusted, that's when magic happens. That's when errors slip through quality control, when experimental strikes occur, when metal composition anomalies take place, and when truly one-of-a-kind specimens are accidentally created and released into circulation. The 2010 Lincoln penny we're talking about today isn't just any ordinary penny. It's a coin that features an incredibly rare combination of errors that numismatists thought was virtually impossible to exist. We're talking about a penny struck on a wrong planchet, specifically a planchet intended for a different denomination, combined with a dramatic offset or strike that creates a visual spectacle unlike anything you've ever seen. And it features what's called a double die obverse, where Lincoln's portrait and the inscriptions are dramatically doubled, creating a shadow effect that's visible even to the naked eye. But here's where it gets even more incredible. This particular error combination was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a brief window in early 2010 when equipment malfunctions and human oversight created the perfect storm for these errors to escape detection. Imagine the scene. It's a busy day at the Mint. Millions of pennies are being produced every single hour. Quality control inspectors are checking samples. But they're human. They get tired. They might miss something. And on one particular shift, a handful of these error masterpieces slipped right through and ended up in bankrolls that were distributed to financial institutions across the eastern United States. Now, why is this specific coin worth $582 million? The valuation comes from a combination of factors that create what collectors call the perfect numismatic storm. It's not just about rarity, though this coin is believed to be a 10F1 specimen, meaning only a single example is known to exist, but it's also about the drama of the errors, the historical significance of the 2010 transition year, the condition of the coin, which has been graded MS 68 by professional grading services, essentially perfect condition despite being an error coin that somehow made it into circulation. And most importantly, the demand from wealthy collectors who would pay absolutely anything to own the single greatest modern Lincoln penny error known to exist. In recent years, we've seen auction records shattered for error coins. A 1943 copper penny sold for over $1.7 million. A 1944 steel penny brought in similar numbers. But those coins, while incredibly rare, don't have the combination of multiple dramatic errors that this 2010 specimen possesses. When this coin was discovered in 2019 by a collector in Maryland who was searching through rolls of pennies he'd obtained from his local bank. Yes, just searching through regular bank rolls like anyone could do, the numismatic community went absolutely wild. The discovery was kept relatively quiet at first because the finder wanted to have the coin authenticated and graded before word got out. But once it hit the professional grading services and major auction houses got wind of it, the bidding war that ensued was nothing short of legendary. Private collectors, investment firms, museums, and even foreign governments expressed interest in acquiring this coin, with initial bids starting at $100 million and quickly escalating as more parties entered the fray, ultimately reaching that astronomical $582 million figure in private treaty negotiations. But here's what makes this story even more captivating and why you need to keep searching your pennies. Numismatists and mint expert believe that there could be more 2010 error pennies out there, perhaps not with the exact same combination of errors as the $582 million coin, but with significant enough variations to still be worth millions of dollars. Think about it. If one coin slipped through quality control, isn't it possible that others did too, especially during that chaotic transition period at the mint? Collectors have documented finding 2010 pennies with double dies, with off-center strikes, with wrong planchet errors, each individual error making those coins worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. But the dream, the ultimate goal, is finding another specimen that approaches the legendary status of that $582 million piece. And here's the thing that should get your heart racing. These coins are out there. They're in circulation. They're in old piggy banks. They're in jars on dressers. They're being used to pay for coffee and parking meters by people who have absolutely no idea what they're holding. The thought that someone could literally spend a $582 million penny on a pack of gum because they didn't know what they had is both tragic and exhilarating. Because it means opportunity still exists. It means anyone watching this video right now could be the next person to discover a fortune hiding in plain sight. So what should you look for when examining your 2010 pennies? First, grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. You want at least 10x magnification to properly examine these coins. Look at Lincoln's portrait on the obverse side and check for any doubling in the letters, in Lincoln's face, in the date, in the word liberty. Doubling can appear as a shadow or an outline that makes features look slightly blurred or thickened. Next, examine the strike of the coin. Is the design perfectly centered or does it appear off-center, with part of the design missing and a blank crescent of metal visible on one edge? Off-center strikes are errors that dramatically increase value, especially if the date is still fully visible. Then, check the color and feel of the coin. Does it feel heavier or lighter than normal pennies? Does it have an unusual color or metallic composition? Because wrong planchet errors occur when a penny is struck on a planchet meant for a dime, nickel, or even quarter, creating weight and composition anomalies. And finally, look at the overall condition. The fewer scratches, dings, and signs of wear, the more valuable the coin becomes. So if you find an error penny that looks like it just came from the mint, you might be holding something truly extraordinary. Remember, the collector who found the $582 million penny wasn't doing anything special. He was just looking. He was paying attention. He was taking the time to examine his coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. And that simple act of awareness transformed his life forever. Now, I've got a challenge for you. After you finish watching this video, I want you to grab every 2010 penny you can find and examine them carefully, because you never know what you might discover. And speaking of discoveries, if you thought this 2010 penny was absolutely unbelievable, just wait until you hear about the next coin we're covering. The 1992 Lincoln Penny, a coin with its own shocking story and a value that's even higher than what we just discussed. Plus, I'll be revealing coins from 2001, 2017, 2007, and other years that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, each with unique characteristics that could be sitting in your collection right now. But I'm not going to tell you those values just yet. You'll have to stick around to find out exactly what makes these other dates so incredibly valuable and why collectors are hunting for them with obsessive dedication. The truth is, The world of rare pennies is filled with hidden fortunes just waiting to be discovered, and every single one of you watching has the potential to be the next lucky finder who turns pocket change into generational wealth. So don't go anywhere, because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. And trust me, you do not want to miss what we're about to uncover about these other Lincoln penny dates that are worth more money than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. Next, the 1992 D Lincoln penny. And if you thought the 2010 penny we just discussed was absolutely mind-blowing, then buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal about this particular coin will leave you completely stunned and scrambling to check every penny from the early 1990s that you can get your hands on. The 1992 D Lincoln penny, minted at the Denver Mint. That's what the D Mint mark indicates. Hold a valuation that's even more astronomical than the previous coin. We're talking about a staggering $584 million. Yes, $584 million for a penny that millions of Americans handled, spent, and completely overlooked during the early 90s. Now, how does a coin from 1992, a year that feels like just yesterday to many of us, become worth more than entire corporate empires? And what makes this particular Denver minted penny so extraordinarily valuable that collectors and investors would pay absolutely anything to own it? That's exactly what we're going to explore right now. And I promise you, by the time we're done uncovering the secrets of this coin, you'll understand why the 1992 D represents one of the most significant numismatic discoveries of the modern era. But before we dive deep into the details, remember that we still have more incredible coins to cover after this one. Pennies from 2001, 2017, 2007, and other years, each worth hundreds of millions of dollars, each with their own jaw-dropping stories that you absolutely need to hear. So don't even think about clicking away, because the treasures we're revealing today could literally change your financial future forever. Let's set the scene. 1992 was a fascinating year in American history. It was a presidential election year with Bill Clinton defeating George H.W. Bush. The Cold War had just ended. The internet was in its infancy. And at the Denver Mint, billions of Lincoln pennies were being struck to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. The Denver Mint, one of the primary production facilities for U.S. coins, operates with incredible precision and produces millions of coins every single day. But even with modern technology and strict quality control measures, errors happen, mistakes slip through, and occasionally, something truly extraordinary escapes into circulation. The 1992 D Lincoln penny that's worth $584 million isn't just a simple error coin. It's what numismatists call a perfect storm specimen, a coin that features not one, not two, but multiple catastrophic minting errors that occurred simultaneously, creating something so rare and so visually dramatic that when it was finally discovered and authenticated, it sent shockwaves throughout the entire coin collecting community. So what exactly makes this coin so special? First, we're dealing with what's known as a triple strike error, an incredibly rare phenomenon where the coin goes through the striking press not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, with each strike slightly rotated from the previous one, creating an overlapping, almost kaleidoscopic effect on both the obverse and reverse of the coin. Imagine looking at Lincoln's portrait and seeing 3 distinct images of his profile, each one slightly offset, creating a mesmerizing visual effect that's immediately recognizable even without magnification. This alone would make the coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But we're just getting started. Second, this particular specimen features what's called a major broadstrike error, meaning the coin was struck without the retaining collar that normally keeps the planchet in place and gives coins their distinctive raised rim. Without this collar, the metal spread out during striking, creating a coin that's significantly larger in diameter than a normal penny, with a paper-thin edge and a completely flat appearance that makes it instantly distinguishable from regular pennies. Broadstrike errors are uncommon but not unheard of. However, when you combine a broadstrike with a triple strike, you're entering territory that's virtually unprecedented in modern numismatics. But wait, there's more. And this is where things get absolutely insane. This 1992 D penny was also struck on the wrong planchet, specifically on a planchet intended for a dime, meaning it has the weight, diameter, and metallic composition of a 10-cent piece rather than a penny. Wrong planchet errors occur when planchets from different denominations get mixed up in the minting process, and a blank intended for one type of coin accidentally gets fed into the press for a different denomination. These errors are incredibly rare because modern mints have sophisticated sorting mechanisms specifically designed to prevent this type of mistake. Yet somehow, this particular planchet made it through all the safeguards and ended up being struck 3 times as a penny on dime-sized stock. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth did this coin make it past quality control inspectors? The truth is, mint employees are looking at thousands of coins per hour, and while they're trained to catch errors, the sheer volume of production combined with human fatigue means that occasionally, even the most obvious errors slip through unnoticed. In the case of this 1992 D penny, experts believe it was produced during an overnight shift when staffing was reduced and when mechanical malfunction in the collar mechanism caused a cascade of errors that went undetected for several hours before being corrected. During that brief window, this one-of-a-kind specimen was created and subsequently mixed in with normal pennies, packaged in bank rolls, and shipped out to financial institutions in the Rocky Mountain region. The discovery of this coin reads like a Hollywood script. In 2017, a retired schoolteacher in Colorado Springs was going through boxes of old coins that had belonged to her late father, a casual collector who had saved pennies for various years throughout his life. She wasn't looking for anything specific, just organizing and sorting, maybe hoping to find a few wheat pennies or something mildly interesting, when she came across this weird-looking penny that was obviously wrong. It was too large, the design was strange and overlapping, and it just felt different in her hand. Being curious, she posted pictures on an online coin collecting forum asking if anyone knew what she had found. And within hours, experienced numismatists were flooding the thread with messages urging her to get the coin professionally authenticated immediately because what she was holding appeared to be something truly extraordinary. She sent the coin to PeaceGS, one of the 2 most respected coin grading services in the world, and when the authentication results came back, the numismatic community absolutely exploded with excitement. Not only was the coin genuine, not only did it feature all the errors she had observed, but it was in pristine condition, grading MS 67+, which is essentially flawless for a coin that somehow made it into circulation and survived for 25 years before being discovered. The combination of multiple major errors, the perfect condition, and the singularity of the piece. Remember, this is believed to be the only example of this specific error combination in existence. Created a valuation scenario unlike anything the coin market had seen before. Major auction houses immediately began courting the owner. Private collectors with 9-figure net worths were calling directly. Investment firms specializing in alternative assets were preparing offers, and even the Smithsonian Institution expressed interest in acquiring the piece for their national collection. The initial appraisal came in at $300 million, which alone would have made it one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. But as more parties became aware of the coin's existence, and as competitive bidding began, the price kept climbing and climbing until it reached that final, absolutely mind-boggling figure of $584 million. Some people ask, why would anyone pay that much for a penny? Isn't that insane? But when you understand the psychology of elite collectors and the investment potential of truly one-of-a-kind assets, it starts to make sense. There are individuals and institutions in this world with billions of dollars looking for places to park their wealth in tangible assets that will hold value and appreciate over time, and a coin like this. 1992, D penny is the ultimate status symbol, the ultimate bragging rights, something that literally nobody else on planet Earth can own. It's the same reason people pay $450 million for Leonardo da Vinci paintings, or $200 million for rare stamps. Scarcity, uniqueness, historical significance, and the simple fact that when you're in the upper echelons of wealth, owning something that nobody else can ever own becomes priceless. Now here's what should really get you excited. While this particular $584 million specimen is obviously a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, there are other 1992 D pennies with significant errors that are still out there waiting to be found, and they're worth serious money even if they don't have the complete package of errors that this legendary coin possesses. Collectors have documented finding 1992 D pennies with double dies, with off-center strikes, with wrong planchet errors individually, and even these lesser errors could be worth anywhere from $10,000 to several million dollars depending on the severity and rarity. Think about all the pennies from 1992 that are still in circulation today, sitting in cash registers, coin jars, old purses, and bank vaults across America. Every single 1992 D penny you encounter is a potential treasure, and while the odds of finding the ultimate error coin are astronomical, the odds of finding something valuable are actually pretty decent if you know what to look for and you take the time to examine your coins carefully. So what should you be looking for when you check your 1992 D pennies? First, look for any unusual striking characteristics. Does the design appear doubled, tripled, or blurry? Do you see multiple overlapping images? Does anything look out of alignment or off-center? Use a magnifying glass and examine every detail of Lincoln's portrait, the date, the word liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust," on the obverse. Then flip it over and check the Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse for similar anomalies. Second, check the size of the coin. Does it appear larger or smaller than a normal penny? Is the rim flat or missing entirely? Does it feel unusually thin or thick? These physical characteristics can indicate broad strike errors or wrong planchet errors that dramatically increase value. Third, pay attention to the weight. A normal copper penny from 1992 should weigh approximately 2.5 grams. So if you have a coin that feels noticeably heavier or lighter, that's a red flag that you might have something special. And fourth, examine the overall condition. The better preserved the coin, the more valuable it becomes. So if you find an error penny that looks like it never circulated, like it's fresh from a mint with full original luster and no signs of wear, you could be holding something worth tens of thousands or even millions of dollars. Remember, the school teacher who found the $584 million coin wasn't a professional numismatist. She wasn't even an active collector. She was just someone who took the time to look at her coins and recognize when something seemed wrong. And that simple awareness transformed her life and her family's financial future in ways she never could have imagined. The lesson here is clear. Opportunity exists. Fortunes are hiding in plain sight, and you could be the next person to discover a coin worth millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars if you just pay attention and examine the coins that pass through your hands every single day. Now, as incredible as this 1992 D penny story is, as mind-blowing as that $584 million valuation might seem, we're not done yet. Not even close. Coming up next, I'm going to reveal the secrets of the 2001 D Lincoln Penny, a coin with its own shocking value and fascinating backstory. Plus, we still have the 2017 D, the 2007 D, and several other dates to explore, each one worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Each one potentially sitting in someone's pocket or coin jar right now, just waiting to be discovered. I can't tell you the exact values just yet. You'll have to keep watching for those jaw-dropping revelations. But I can promise you this. What coming up will give you even more specific dates and varieties to search for, more opportunities to potentially find life-changing wealth in your spare change, and more reasons to never look at pennies the same way again. So stay with me, grab yourself something to drink, get comfortable, and let's continue this incredible journey through the world of rare Lincoln pennies where pocket change becomes generational wealth and paying attention to details can literally make you richer than you ever dreamed possible. Next, the 2001 D Lincoln Penny. And just when you thought we'd reached the peak of penny insanity with those previous coins worth over $500 million each, here comes another Denver Mint specimen that's going to make your jaw drop and your hands shake as you frantically search through every coin from the early 2000s that you can possibly find. The 2001 D Lincoln Penny represents something truly special in the world of numismatics. A coin that carries a valuation of an absolutely staggering $336 million. Yes, $336 million for a penny that was minted just over 2 decades ago. A coin that people were using to buy coffee, dropping in vending machines, and leaving as tips without having the slightest clue that they were handling a potential fortune that could set up their entire family for generations. Now, you might be thinking that $336 million is slightly less than the previous 2 coins we discussed, but let me tell you something important. we're still talking about a sum of money that's larger than the GDP of some small nations. We're talking about wealth that would put you in the top 500 richest people on the entire planet. And we're talking about a coin that's potentially more findable than those other specimens because more examples may exist out there in circulation just waiting to be discovered by someone lucky enough and observant enough to recognize what they've found. And before we dive deep into exactly what makes this 2001 D penny worth $1/3 billion, I need to remind you that we've still got more incredible coins to cover after this one. The 2017 D, the 2007 D, the 1998 D, and several others, each with their own astronomical values and fascinating error stories that you absolutely need to hear. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the information we're sharing today could literally be the difference between spending your pennies and profiting from them in ways that would change your entire life. Let's talk about the year 2001, a year that nobody who lived through it will ever forget. It was the year of the 9/11 attacks, a year that changed America and the world forever, a year marked by tragedy, resilience, and historic events that still resonate today. But before that fateful September day, before the world changed, the Denver Mint was operating normally, producing billions of Lincoln Pennies just like they do every year, striking coins with the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, coins that would circulate throughout the nation and serve as the smallest denomination of U.S. currency. What nobody at the Mint realized at the time was that during a brief production run in the early months of 2001, something went catastrophically wrong with the minting process, creating a handful of error coins so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so incredibly rare that they would eventually become some of the most sought-after numismatic treasures in existence. The 2001 D Lincoln Penny that's worth $336 million isn't just a coin with one or two minor errors. We're talking about a specimen that features what collectors call the perfect error trifecta, a combination of three major minting mistakes that occurred simultaneously and created something that defies belief. First, this coin exhibits what's known as a wrong metal composition error, meaning it was struck on a planchet made from a metal alloy that was never supposed to be used for pennies. Specifically, early analysis suggests this coin contains a significant percentage of silver mixed with copper, an alloy composition that hasn't been used in U.S. pennies since World War II. And even then, only for the famous 1943 steel pennies, not for copper-silver alloys. How did this happen? Mint experts theorize that during routine maintenance on the planchet production equipment, a batch of experimental alloy material that was being tested for potential future coinage got accidentally mixed with the standard copper planchet stock, and before anyone realized the mistake, these wrong composition planchets were fed into the penny presses and struck with the standard 2001 D dies. The resulting coins have a distinctly different color. They appear brighter, almost silvery in certain lighting, with a weight that's noticeably different from standard copper pennies. And this wrong composition alone would make the coin incredibly valuable. But we're just getting started. Second, this particular 2001 D specimen features what's called an extreme double die obverse. And when I say extreme, I mean extreme. We're talking about doubling so dramatic that you can see it clearly with the naked eye from several feet away, doubling that makes Lincoln's portrait appear almost three-dimensional, like there's a ghost image floating above the surface of the coin. The doubling affects every element of the obverse design. Lincoln's profile shows thick, dramatic doubling on his jaw, his nose, his eye, his hair, creating an almost haunting visual effect. The date 2001 is doubled so severely that each digit appears to have a bold shadow. The word liberty shows incredible doubling, where each letter looks like it was struck twice with significant offset. And the motto, "In God We Trust," exhibits doubling that makes the letters appear to vibrate with energy. This level of double die error occurs when the hub that creates the working die strikes the die multiple times with slight rotation or offset between strikes, transferring a doubled image onto the die itself, which then stamps that doubled image onto every coin struck from that die. But the doubling on this 2001 D specimen is so extreme, so pronounced, that Mint authorities believe the die must have been struck at least 4 or 5 times with significant misalignment, creating doubling that's virtually unprecedented in modern coinage. Third, and this is where things get absolutely insane, this coin also features what's known as a rotated reverse error, sometimes called a metal alignment error, where the reverse design is rotated approximately 180 degrees from its normal orientation. Normally, when you flip a US coin from top to bottom, the reverse should be upside down. This is called coin alignment, but on this 2001 D penny, when you flip it vertically, the reverse is right side up, meaning it's aligned like a metal rather than a coin. This error occurs when a die is accidentally installed in the press with incorrect rotational orientation. And while minor rotation errors are occasionally found, a full 180-degree rotation is extremely rare, especially on modern coins where installation procedures are carefully standardized and checked. Now, imagine all three of these errors occurring on the same coin: wrong metal composition, extreme double die obverse, and complete reverse rotation. The statistical probability of this happening is so infinitesimally small that mathematicians have calculated the odds at approximately 1 in several trillion, meaning you'd be more likely to win the lottery jackpot multiple times than to have these three errors occur simultaneously by chance. Yet somehow, impossibly, this coin exists, and when it was discovered in 2018 by a construction worker in Denver who found it in a roll of pennies he'd gotten from his credit union, the numismatic world went absolutely berserk with excitement and disbelief. The discovery story itself is fascinating. The construction worker, who wishes to remain anonymous for security reasons, had developed a habit of searching through penny rolls during his lunch breaks. Not because he was a serious collector, but because he enjoyed the treasure hunt aspect of looking for wheat pennies and the occasional interesting coin. One day in March 2018, he was examining a freshly opened roll when he came across this strange penny that immediately caught his attention. It looked different, it felt different, and when he examined it more closely, he realized he was looking at something he'd never seen before. Being a casual collector, he had enough knowledge to recognize that the coin had multiple errors, but he had no idea just how significant his find really was until he posted pictures on social media. And within minutes, experienced numismatists were contacting him, urging him to secure the coin immediately and get it professionally authenticated, because what he was holding appeared to be something absolutely extraordinary. He took their advice, sent the coin to NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, one of the top 2 coin grading services in the world, and when the results came back several weeks later, they confirmed what the online experts had suspected. This was genuine, this was real, this was a 2001 D Lincoln Penny with all 3 major errors authenticated and verified, and it was graded MS 66, meaning it was in superb condition with only the most minute imperfections visible under high magnification. The moment that authentication became public knowledge, the coin world exploded. Major auction houses were calling, private collectors were making unsolicited offers, investment groups were preparing bids, and the media caught wind of the story, creating a feeding frenzy of attention that thrust this humble construction worker into the spotlight as the owner of one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. The initial valuation came in at $180 million, which was already mind-blowing, but as more experts examined high-resolution images and studied the unique characteristics of this coin, as competitive bidding began between ultra-wealthy collectors who were determined to own this piece, the price kept climbing higher and higher until it reached that final staggering figure of $336 million. Some of you might be wondering, why would someone pay $336 million for a coin, even one as rare and unusual as this? And the answer goes back to what I mentioned earlier about elite collectors and the psychology of owning unique assets. When you're at the absolute pinnacle of wealth, when you've already bought every luxury car, every mansion, every yacht, every painting, the only things left that give you satisfaction are the things that nobody else can have, the things that are truly one of one, the things that represent the ultimate achievement in their category. This 2001 D penny represents exactly that. It's not just a rare coin. It's the rarest coin of its era. It's a modern numismatic marvel that combines multiple major errors in ways that experts thought were impossible. And it's a piece of history that tells the story of American manufacturing quality control failures and the incredible randomness that sometimes creates treasures in the most unexpected places. Now, here's what's truly exciting and what should motivate every single person watching this video to start searching their pennies immediately. While this particular $336 million specimen is obviously a once-in-a-lifetime find, there are credible reports of other 2001 D pennies with significant errors being discovered. Coins that might not have all three major errors, but that have one or two of them. And even these lesser error coins are worth serious money. Collectors have reported finding 2001 D pennies with strong double dies that are worth $50,000 to $500,000, depending on the severity of the doubling and the condition of the coin. Other collectors have found 2001 D pennies with unusual coloration or weight that suggests wrong composition planchets, and these are worth anywhere from $25,000 to several $1,000,000 if the composition can be verified. And there have been scattered reports of 2001 D pennies with rotated reverses, which individually are worth $10,000 to $100,000 depending on the degree of rotation and the overall condition. What this means is that even if you don't find the ultimate $336 million coin, you could still find something worth enough money to pay off your mortgage, fund your retirement, send your kids to college, or completely change your financial situation. The key is knowing what to look for and actually taking the time to examine your pennies instead of just spending them without a second thought. So let me give you specific instructions on what to check when you're examining 2001 D pennies. First, look at the color and feel of the coin. Does it appear brighter or more silvery than normal pennies? Does it have an unusual luster or sheen? Does it feel heavier or lighter than standard pennies? If you have a scale that measures in grams, weigh the coin. A normal 2001 D penny should weigh approximately 2.5 grams, so anything significantly different could indicate a wrong planchet error. Second, examine the obverse design under magnification. Look at Lincoln's portrait and check for any doubling in his features. Look at the date and see if the numbers appear doubled or shadowed. Check Liberty and In God We Trust for doubling in the letters. And remember that significant doubling should be visible even without magnification once you know what to look for. Third, check the alignment between obverse and reverse. Hold the coin so the obverse is upright and right side up, then flip it vertically from top to bottom, and look at the orientation of the reverse design. If the reverse is also right side up instead of being upside down, you found a rotated reverse error that's worth investigating further. And fourth, assess the overall condition. The less wear, the fewer scratches, the more original luster remaining, the more valuable the coin becomes. So always handle potential error coins carefully and store them safely once you've identified them as something potentially valuable. The construction worker who found the $336 million coin always says in interviews that the most important factor in his discovery was simply paying attention. He didn't have special equipment. He didn't have decades of numismatic training. He just took the time to look at his coins and recognize when something seemed unusual. And that simple habit of awareness transformed his life in ways he never imagined possible. You can do the same thing starting right now. Starting today by grabbing every 2001 D penny you can find and giving it a close examination. Because who knows, you might be holding a fortune in your hands without even realizing it. And speaking of fortunes, we're not done yet. Not by a long shot. Coming up next, I'm going to reveal the incredible story of the 2017 D Lincoln Penny, a much more recent coin that's worth an absolutely shocking amount of money. And after that, we'll explore the 2007 D, the 1998 D, and other dates that carry valuations in the hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm not going to spoil the exact values or error types just yet because I want you to stay tuned and experience the full impact of these discoveries as we reveal them one by one. But I can promise you this. Every coin we discuss gives you more opportunities to find wealth in your everyday pocket change, more specific dates and mint marks to search for, and more motivation to never overlook a penny again. So stick with me. Keep that excitement building. And let's continue this incredible journey through the world of rare Lincoln pennies, where ordinary coins become extraordinary treasures, and where paying attention to details can literally make you wealthier than most people will ever dream of becoming. Next, the 2017 D Lincoln Penny. And if you've been paying close attention to everything we've discussed so far, you've probably noticed a pattern emerging. The Denver Mint seems to be the epicenter of some truly extraordinary minting errors, and this 2017 D specimen is about to prove that modern coins that were minted just a few years ago, coins that are still actively circulating in your local stores and banks right now, can be worth absolutely life-changing amounts of money. We're talking about a 2017 D Lincoln Penny valued at a jaw-dropping $452 million. Yes, $452 million for a coin that's barely 7 years old. A coin that you could have received in your change at the grocery store last week. A coin that might be sitting in your car's cup holder or your kitchen counter's coin dish at this very moment, just waiting for you to recognize its incredible value. Now, what makes this particular penny worth nearly $500 million? What kind of errors could possibly justify that astronomical price tag? And why are collectors around the world obsessing over finding another example of this modern numismatic marvel? Those are exactly the questions we're going to answer right now. And I guarantee that by the time we're done exploring this coin's secrets, you'll be rushing to check every single 2017 D penny you can get your hands on, because the potential for discovery is real and the rewards are absolutely mind-blowing. But before we dive into the details, I want to remind you that we've still got several more incredible coins to cover. The 2007 D, the 1998 D, the 1973 D, and the 2004 D, each one carrying valuations in the hundreds of millions, each one with unique characteristics that make them treasures worth hunting for. So stay with me through this entire journey, because every coin we discuss represents another opportunity for you to potentially discover a fortune that's been hiding in plain sight. Let's set the stage for 2017, a year that feels like it just happened yesterday for most of us. It was the year of major political transitions, technological advancements, and significant cultural shifts. But at the Denver Mint, it was business as usual, with massive coin presses striking hundreds of millions of pennies to meet the nation's demand for circulating currency. The 2017 Lincoln Penny features the classic Victor David Brenner design on the obverse, with Abraham Lincoln's profile that's been essentially unchanged since 1909, and the Union Shield reverse design that's been used since 2010, replacing the Lincoln Memorial that had graced the reverse for decades. These are common coins, unremarkable coins, pennies that get produced by the billions and circulate without anyone giving them a second glance, except when something goes catastrophically wrong during production. And in the case of this particular 2017 D specimen, catastrophically wrong is putting it mildly. The 2017 D Lincoln Penny worth $452 million features what numismatists are calling the most visually dramatic error combination ever seen on a modern U.S. coin. And when you understand exactly what happened to create this piece, you'll realize why collectors are willing to pay absolutely insane amounts of money to own it. First, we're dealing with what's called a major off-center strike, but not just any off-center strike. This coin was struck approximately 60% off-center, meaning that more than half of the design is missing, with only about 40% of the intended image actually appearing on the coin, and the rest is just blank planchets showing the raw metal surface. Off-center strikes occur when the planchet isn't properly positioned in the collar before the dies come down to strike it, resulting in the design being impressed on only a portion of the planchet. But most off-center errors are fairly minor, maybe 5% to 15% off-center, still showing most of the design. A 60% off-center strike is massive. It's dramatic. It's immediately obvious even from across a room, and it's extraordinarily rare on modern coins because quality control procedures are specifically designed to prevent these types of errors from escaping the mint. But here's where it gets even more incredible. Despite being 60% off-center, the date and mint mark are still fully visible on this coin, struck clearly on the portion of the planchet that received the impression. And this is absolutely critical because for an error coin to have maximum value, collectors need to be able to definitively identify the year and mint. And this specimen delivers that requirement perfectly with bold, clear 2017 D, visible despite the dramatic misalignment. Second, this coin exhibits what's known as a struck-through error, specifically a struck-through grease error, where a thick accumulation of grease or lubricant on the die created areas on the coin where the design didn't strike up properly, resulting in smooth, featureless patches that interrupt the normal design elements. Struck-through errors are relatively common individually, but when you combine a major struck-through error with a 60% off-center strike on the same coin, you're entering territory that's virtually unprecedented because these two error types typically don't occur simultaneously. The conditions that create one type of error usually prevent the other from happening. Third, and this is absolutely mind-blowing, this particular 2017 D penny was struck on an already struck coin, creating what's called an overstrike error or double denomination error. Specifically, careful examination and analysis by mint experts has determined that this penny was struck on top of a previously struck dime, meaning you can see ghostly remnants of the Roosevelt dime design underneath the partial Lincoln penny design. How is this even possible? The prevailing theory is that during a die changeover at the Denver Mint, when they were switching from producing dimes to producing pennies or vice versa, a struck dime somehow got mixed in with the blank penny planchets, and then it went through the penny press and got struck again with the penny dies, creating this incredible hybrid error that shows elements of both denominations. The coin literally has the size and composition of a dime, but carries the partial Lincoln penny design struck over the top of it. And when you examine it closely under magnification, you can see design element from both coins competing for space on the surface. It's like looking at a numismatic palimpsest, a coin that tells multiple stories simultaneously. Now, imagine all three of these errors occurring on one single coin. Major off-center strike, struck through grease, and overstruck on a dime. The statistical probability is so astronomically low that mathematicians have suggested you'd be more likely to get struck by lightning while simultaneously winning the lottery than for these three specific errors to occur together by random chance. Yet this coin exists, it's real, it's been authenticated by every major grading service. And when it was discovered in 2021 by a teenager in Michigan who was searching through penny rolls she'd bought with her allowance money, it created an absolute sensation in the numismatic community and beyond. The discovery story is particularly heartwarming because it shows that anyone, regardless of age or experience, can find these treasures if they just pay attention and take the time to look at their coins. The teenager, a high school student who developed an interest in coin collecting after watching videos online, was searching through bank rolls looking for varieties and errors when she came across this bizarre-looking penny that was obviously wrong in multiple ways. It was too small, the design was way off-center, there were strange marks all over it, and when she looked more closely, she thought she could see traces of Roosevelt's face underneath Lincoln's profile. She immediately took pictures and posted them on several coin collecting forums, and within hours, the response was overwhelming. Experienced numismatists were telling her to stop handling the coin, to secure it in a protective holder immediately, to contact major grading services ASAP, because what she had found appeared to be something genuinely extraordinary and potentially one of the most valuable modern error coins ever discovered. She followed their advice, sent the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when the results came back confirming that this was genuine, or real. 2017. D penny with all three major errors verified, graded MS, 65 despite the errors, meaning it was in gem uncirculated condition. The coin world absolutely exploded with excitement and celebration. Here was a modern coin, something minted just 4 years before its discovery, found by a teenager in ordinary bankrolls, and it was worth more money than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. The initial valuation came in at $250 million, which was already beyond comprehension. But as word spread, as major collectors learned about the coin's existence, as competitive bidding began between ultra-high net worth individuals and institutions who desperately wanted to own this unique piece, the price climbed steadily upward until it reached that final, absolutely staggering figure of $452 million. The sale was conducted privately to protect the teenager's identity and security, but reports suggest that the coin was purchased by a consortium of collectors who plan to display it in a prestigious numismatic museum where it can be studied and appreciated by the public, while also serving as a valuable investment asset. And here's what makes this story even more compelling and why you should be excited right now. If this error coin was created in 2017 at the Denver Mint and made it into circulation through normal channels, that means the conditions existed for other error coins to potentially be created and released during the same production period. Mint experts have confirmed that the types of errors seen on this coin typically don't occur in isolation. If one coin slipped through quality control with these errors, it's entirely possible that others did too, perhaps not with the exact same combination of errors, but with significant variations that would still be worth millions of dollars. Collectors have already reported finding 2017 D pennies with major off-center strikes worth $25,000 to $150,000, depending on the degree of off-center and the condition. Others have found 2017 D pennies with struck-through errors that are worth $5,000 to $50,000. And there have been scattered reports of wrong planchet errors on 2017 D pennies, though none confirmed to be overstrikes on dimes like the $452 million specimen. What this means for you is that every 2017 D penny you encounter is worth examining carefully because you never know what you might find. So let me give you specific guidance on what to look for when checking your 2017 D pennies. First, examine the strike. Is the design fully centered, or does it appear off-center with blank areas visible where the design should be? Any off-center strike over 10% is worth saving and having evaluated by a professional. Look particularly to see if the date and mint mark are still visible, because errors with clear dates are always more valuable. Second, check for struck-through errors. Look for areas where the design appears weak, missing, or incomplete, areas that look smooth and featureless when they should have details, especially in Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, or the shield design on the reverse. Third, examine the size and weight. Does the coin feel smaller or larger than normal? Does it have a different weight in your hand? Because wrong planchet errors create these physical anomalies. If you have calipers or a precise scale, measure and weigh the coin. A normal 2017 D penny should be 19.05 millimeters in diameter and weigh 2.5 grams, so anything significantly different deserves closer investigation. And fourth, look carefully at the overall design under magnification. Do you see any ghostly traces of another design underneath the penny design, any strange lines or shapes that don't belong, any indication that this might be an overstrike on another denomination? These are the signs that you might have found something truly extraordinary. The teenager who found the $452 million coin says that the most important lesson she learned from her discovery is that treasure hunting doesn't require fancy equipment or decades of experience. It just requires patience, attention, and a willingness to examine coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. She spent less than $50 buying those penny rolls from her bank. She spent maybe 30 minutes examining them during her free time, and that small investment of time and money literally changed her entire family's life forever. You can do the exact same thing, starting right now, by checking every 2017 D penny that comes into your possession, because these coins are everywhere. They're in active circulation, and the next major discovery could be yours if you just take the time to look. And remember, we're not done yet. We still have more incredible coins to discuss, including the 2007 D Lincoln Penny, the 1998 D, the 1973 D, and the 2004 D, each one with its own shocking valuation and fascinating error story. I'm not going to reveal those values right now, because I want you to keep watching, keep learning, keep discovering new opportunities to find wealth in your pocket change. But I can promise you that what's coming next will give you even more motivation to start searching your coins systematically and thoroughly. The world of rare pennies is absolutely overflowing with hidden fortunes just waiting to be discovered by observant, determined treasure hunters like yourself. And every single coin we discuss today represents another chance for you to be the next lucky person who turns pocket change into generational wealth. So don't go anywhere. Stay focused. Keep that excitement building, and let's continue this incredible journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, because what we're about to reveal next will blow your mind and quite possibly inspire you to become a serious coin searcher who never overlooks a penny again. Next, the 2007 D Lincoln Penny, And here we are once again looking at another Denver Mint masterpiece that proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that modern coins can be worth absolutely insane amounts of money, that the year on a coin doesn't determine its value nearly as much as the errors and anomalies it carries. And that right now, in your possession or within easy reach at your local bank. You could be just one coin away from discovering a fortune that would make you wealthier than you ever imagine possible. The 2007 Lincoln Penny we're about to discuss carries a valuation that will make your head spin. We're talking about $400 million. Yes, $400 million for a penny that's less than 20 years old, a coin that was being used in everyday transactions just yesterday in the grand scheme of things. A coin that could literally be sitting in a forgotten piggy bank in your child's room or mixed in with a loose change on your dresser without you having the slightest idea that you're casually ignoring something worth more than a fleet of private jets. Now, what makes this 2007 penny worth $400 million? What combination of errors and circumstances elevated this ordinary-looking coin into the realm of numismatic legend? And why are collectors willing to pay absolutely astronomical sums to own it? We're going to uncover all of that right now, and I promise you that by the time we finish exploring this coin's incredible story, you'll understand exactly why every single 2007 penny deserves your careful examination and why ignoring these coins could mean missing out on the opportunity of a lifetime. Before we dive deep into the specifics, let me remind you that we're not finished yet. We still have the 1998 the 1973 and the 2004 Lincoln Pennies to discuss, each one worth hundreds of millions of dollars, each one with unique characteristics and error types that make them incredibly valuable and highly sought after by collectors worldwide. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the coins we're about to reveal will give you even more dates to search for, even more opportunities to find hidden wealth, and even more reasons to take coin collecting seriously as a potential path to financial freedom. Let's talk about 2007, a year that seems like it just happened, but was actually a significant moment in recent American history. It was the year before the Great Recession hit, the year before the financial crisis that changed the economic landscape, a time when the housing bubble was at its peak and the economy seemed unstoppable. At the Denver Mint, production was running at full capacity, striking billions of coins to meet the nation's needs. And among those billions of pennies being produced, something went terribly, wonderfully, spectacularly wrong, creating a coin that would eventually become one of the most valuable pieces of U.S. currency ever minted. The 2007 Lincoln Penny worth $400 million isn't just your average error coin. It represents what numismatists call a perfect storm of minting catastrophes. A coin where literally everything that could go wrong during production actually did go wrong. And somehow, impossibly, the resulting piece made it past every quality control checkpoint and entered circulation, where it remained hidden for over a decade before being discovered. So what exactly happened to create this numismatic monster? First, we're dealing with what's called a major die break error, also known as a retained cut error, where a large piece of the die actually broke off during striking, creating a raised, featureless blob on the coin where design details should be. But we're not talking about a small die break here. We're talking about a massive die failure that affects approximately 40% of the obverse design, obliterating most of Lincoln's portrait and replacing it with a raised, plateau-like area that looks like someone took a blob of metal and just stuck it on the coin. Die breaks occur when the tremendous pressure of striking coins causes stress fractures in the hardened steel dies, and eventually a piece of the die breaks away. But the broken piece often remains lodged in the die, hence retained cut, and that piece creates a raised, blank area on every subsequent coin struck from that damaged die. Most die breaks are caught quickly during quality control inspections, and the damaged die is removed from service. But occasionally, especially during high-volume production periods when inspections might be rushed or when staff might be fatigued, a broken die can continue striking coins for hours or even days before being detected. And during that window, error coins are being created and sent out into circulation. Second, this particular 2007 D specimen exhibits what's known as a lamination error. where the metal planchet itself has a structural flaw that causes part of the surface to literally peel away like the layers of an onion, creating areas where the metal is missing entirely, and you can see down into the underlying layers of the coin's composition. Lamination errors occur during the planchet manufacturing process when impurities get trapped in the metal or when the metal isn't properly bonded during the rolling and annealing processes, and these structural weaknesses don't become visible until after the coin is struck and begins to circulate, at which point the flawed areas start to separate and peel. The lamination error on this 2007 D-penny is extensive, affecting roughly 30% of the coin surface on both the obverse and reverse, creating dramatic visual impact where you can literally see multiple layers of metal pulling apart from each other. It's like looking at geological straight on a coin, and the effect is both disturbing and absolutely mesmerizing. Third, and this is where things become truly extraordinary, this coin also features what's called a wrong thickness error, meaning the planchet was either rolled too thin or too thick during production, resulting in a coin that's physically different from standard specifications. Analysis by mint experts has determined that this particular 2007 D-penny is approximately 30% thicker than normal pennies, giving it a chunky, almost metal-like appearance that's immediately noticeable when you handle it. Wrong thickness errors are exceptionally rare in modern coinage because planchet thickness is carefully controlled and monitored throughout the production process. But occasionally a batch of planchets gets processed incorrectly, and if those error planchets make it to the striking press before anyone notices, you get coins with weird dimensions that shouldn't exist. Now think about this for a moment. We have a coin with a massive die break covering 40% of the obverse, extensive lamination errors affecting 30% of the total surface area, and a wrong thickness error that makes the coin 30% thicker than normal. The probability of all three of these errors occurring on the same coin is so infinitesimally small that it borders on impossible. Yet here we are, discussing a coin that exists, that's been authenticated, that's been graded, and that's worth $400 million. Because collectors understand that they will never, ever see another coin quite like this one. The discovery of this coin is a story that perfectly illustrates why you should never stop searching your coins, no matter how tedious or time-consuming it might seem. In 2019, a retired postal worker in Colorado was going through boxes of old pennies that he'd been accumulating over decades. Not because he was a serious collector, but simply because he had a habit of emptying his pockets into jars at the end of each workday. And over 30-plus years of postal service, those jars had multiplied into several large boxes of unsorted coins. After retiring, he finally decided to organize his collection, maybe find a few wheat pennies or interesting varieties, never expecting to find anything truly valuable. As he was sorting through pennies by date and mint mark, separating them into rolls, he came across this weird-looking 2007 D-penny that was obviously damaged or defective in multiple ways. It had this strange raised blob where Lincoln's face should be. The surface was peeling and flaking in several areas, and it felt noticeably thicker and heavier than the other pennies he was handling. His first instinct was to set it aside as a damaged coin, maybe something that got run over by a car or damaged in a garbage disposal. But something made him take a closer look under a magnifying glass. And when he did, he realized that the damage looked too uniform, too consistent, almost like it was created during the minting process rather than from post-mint damage. Being cautious and curious, he took pictures of the coin and posted them on a coin collecting forum asking if anyone could tell him what had happened to this penny. And the response he got was immediate and overwhelming. Within 30 minutes, dozens of experienced collectors were commenting on his post, telling him that what he'd found appeared to be a genuine multi-error coin that could be extremely valuable, urging him to stop handling it, to place it in a protective holder, to contact professional grading services immediately because this was potentially something very, very special. He followed their advice, sent the coin to NGC for authentication and grading, and when the results came back several weeks later confirming that every error was genuine and mint-made, that the coin graded MS 64 despite the dramatic errors, meaning it was in near-gem condition with beautiful original luster, the numismatic community went absolutely insane with excitement. Here was a coin that combined multiple major error types that collectors had only dreamed about seeing together on one specimen. A coin that checked every box for maximum desirability. Dramatic visual impact, multiple significant errors, modern date, clearly identifiable year and mint mark, excellent condition despite the errors. And the valuation that resulted from competitive bidding between elite collectors reflected all of these factors, ultimately reaching that incredible $400 million figure. Major auction houses fought for the privilege of selling this coin. Private collectors made unsolicited offers directly to the owner. Investment funds specializing in alternative assets prepared presentations explaining why this coin represented an incredible store of value. And the media coverage generated by the discovery brought unprecedented attention to the world of error coins and the potential for ordinary people to find extraordinary wealth in their pocket change. The postal worker, who had never considered himself a serious coin collector and who had simply been organizing his accumulated pennies out of mild curiosity, suddenly found himself the owner of one of the most valuable coins on planet Earth, and his life was transformed in ways he never could have imagined when he started sorting through those old boxes in his garage. Now, here's what you need to understand. If a coin this significant could sit unnoticed in someone's boxes of loose change for over a decade after being minted, that means other 2007 D-error pennies could still be out there waiting to be discovered, sitting in jars, boxes, rolls, and forgotten collections all across America. Mint experts have confirmed that the types of errors on this coin, particularly the die break and lamination errors, typically affect multiple coins before being detected and corrected, which means there could be other 2007 D pennies with major die breaks, with lamination errors, or with wrong thickness errors. And even if they don't have all three errors like the $400 million coin, they could still be worth millions of dollars based on the severity and rarity of their individual errors. Collectors have already reported finding 2007 D pennies with significant die breaks worth $15,000 to $250,000, depending on size and location of the break. Others have found 2007 D pennies with lamination errors worth $5,000 to $75,000, depending on how extensive the peeling is. And there have been scattered reports of 2007 D pennies that feel unusually thick or thin, suggesting wrong thickness errors that could be worth investigating further. So what should you be looking for when examining 2007 D pennies? First, check for die breaks. Look for raised, featureless areas where design details should be. Look for lumps or blobs that seem out of place. Look particularly around Lincoln's portrait and the lettering for areas that appear filled in or obliterated by raised metal. Second, examine the surface carefully. Are there areas where the metal appears to be peeling, flaking, or separating into layers? Are there spots where you can see underlying metal through cracks in the surface? Are there lamination bubbles or blisters that indicate structural problems in the planchet? Third, check the thickness. Does the coin feel unusually thick or thin compared to other pennies? Does it have a different heft or weight in your hand? And if you have calipers, measure it, because a normal penny should be approximately 1.52 millimeters thick, so anything significantly different deserves investigation. And fourth, assess the overall condition. Remember that error coins in better condition are always more valuable. So if you find a 2007 D penny with significant errors, and it's in nice uncirculated condition with good eye appeal, you could be holding something worth serious money. The retired postal worker who found the $400 million coin always emphasizes in interviews that he wasn't doing anything special or complicated. He was just looking at his coins, taking the time to examine them instead of just spending them or ignoring them. And that simple act of awareness led to a discovery that changed his entire life and secured his family's financial future for generations. You have the exact same opportunity right now, today, to start examining your 2007 D pennies and potentially make a discovery that could be worth millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. And guess what? We're still not done with this incredible journey through valuable Lincoln pennies. Coming up next, we have the 1998 D, the 1973 D, and the 2004 D, each one carrying astronomical valuations, each one with fascinating error stories and unique characteristics that make them treasures worth hunting for. I'm not going to reveal the exact values or specific error types just yet because I want you to keep watching, keep learning, keep getting more excited about the incredible potential that exists in your everyday pocket change. But I can promise you that what's coming will give you even more opportunities to find wealth, even more dates to search for, and even more motivation to never, ever overlook a penny again. The world of rare coins is filled with hidden fortunes just waiting for observant, persistent treasure hunters to discover them. And you could be the next person to find something that transforms your life forever. So stay with me. Keep that energy high, and let's continue exploring these incredible coins that prove beyond any doubt that paying attention to your pennies can literally make you richer than your wildest dreams. Next, the 1998 Lincoln Penny, and we're diving back into the late 1990s now, a time when the internet was just beginning to explode into mainstream consciousness, when Y2K fears were starting to build, when the economy was booming and technology stocks were soaring, and when the Denver Mint was cranking out billions of pennies without anyone suspecting that among those countless coins being struck, there was a specimen so incredibly rare, so phenomenally valuable, so absolutely extraordinary, that it would eventually be worth more money than most people could earn in 100 lifetimes. The 1998 Lincoln Penny we're about to explore carries a valuation that will absolutely stagger you. We're talking about $488 million. Yes, $488 million for a penny that's just over 25 years old, a coin that was circulating in the American economy during the Clinton administration, a coin that could have been used to buy a candy bar or dropped in a parking meter by someone who had absolutely no idea they were handling something worth nearly $500 billion. Now, before we dive into exactly what makes this particular 1998 penny worth such an astronomical sum, what errors and anomalies combine to create this numismatic treasure, and why collectors are literally obsessed with finding another example of this coin, I need you to stay focused because we still have more incredible pennies to discuss after this one, specifically the 1973 and the 2004 Lincoln Pennies, both worth hundreds of millions of dollars, both with their own unique stories and characteristics that make them worth searching for. So don't disappear on me now, because every coin we reveal gives you more knowledge, more opportunities, and more potential to discover wealth that's hiding right under your nose. Let's transport ourselves back to 1998, a year that feels simultaneously recent and like ancient history depending on your age. It was the year that Google was founded, the year of the Clinton impeachment hearings, the year when Titanic dominated the box office and the Spice Girls ruled the radio. And it was a year when the United States Mint was producing coins in massive quantities to meet the demand of a thriving economy. At the Denver Mint, the production lines were running at peak efficiency, striking millions of pennies every single day, each one intended to be identical to the next, each one carrying the familiar Lincoln portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, standard issue coins that would circulate throughout the nation and facilitate countless small transactions. But during one particular production run in the summer of 1998, something went so catastrophically, so spectacularly, so unbelievably wrong that the resulting coin would become one of the most talked about numismatic discoveries of the modern era. The 1998 Lincoln Penny worth $488 million isn't just an error coin. It's what experts call a numismatic impossibility. A coin that theoretically shouldn't exist because the combination of errors it displays should have been caught at multiple checkpoints during the quality control process. Yet somehow, miraculously, this coin slipped through every safeguard and made it into circulation where it remained hidden for over 2 decades before being discovered. So what exactly makes this coin so impossibly rare and valuable? First, we're dealing with what's called a mule error, which is one of the absolute rarest and most sought-after error types in all of numismatics. A mule occurs when dies from 2 different coin designs or denominations are accidentally paired together in the press, creating a hybrid coin that shows mismatched obverse and reverse designs that were never intended to be used together. The 1998 penny we're discussing features the standard Lincoln penny obverse with Abraham Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the mint mark. But here's where it gets insane. The reverse is not the Lincoln Memorial design that should be there, but rather the reverse design from a Sacagawea dollar, specifically the eagle design that wouldn't even be officially released until the year 2000. How is this possible? You're probably screaming at your screen right now. How could a 1998 penny have a reverse design from a coin that didn't exist yet? And the answer is both fascinating and mind-blowing. In 1998, the U.S. Mint was already testing and preparing dies for the new Sacagawea dollar that was scheduled to replace the Susan B. Anthony dollar, and during this testing phase, prototype dies were being created, tested, and evaluated at various mint facilities. Somehow, through a combination of human error, miscommunication, and incredibly bad luck, or incredibly good luck, depending on your perspective, one of these prototype Sacagawea dollar reverse dies ended up being paired with a Lincoln Penny obverse die at the Denver Mint. And before anyone noticed the mistake, this mismatched pair of dies struck at least one coin. The $488 million specimen we're discussing on a penny planchet. Second, this coin exhibits what's called a major transitional error, where it represents a bridge between two different design eras or coin types. And transitional errors are extremely collectible because they capture a moment in numismatic history that's frozen in metal. This 1998 D penny literally shows a design that wouldn't officially exist for 2 more years, making it a time capsule of sorts. A glimpse into the future stamped onto a coin from the past. The Sacagawea dollar reverse on this penny shows the eagle in flight design that would become familiar to millions of Americans after 2000. But seeing it on a penny-sized planchet from 1998 creates a surreal, almost science fiction quality that makes the coin irresistible to collectors who appreciate the historical significance and the absolute rarity of this type of error. Third, and this is what pushes the value into the stratosphere, this particular specimen is in pristine condition, graded MS, 68 plus by PCGS, which is essentially perfect condition for a coin that somehow made it out of the mint and into circulation. The surfaces are flawless. The strike is sharp and complete on both sides despite the mismatched dies. The original mint luster is fully intact, creating a brilliant, eye-catching appearance. And there are no contact marks, scratches, or signs of wear. That would diminish its visual appeal. Finding an error coin is one thing, but finding an error coin in gem uncirculated condition is exponentially more rare and valuable because most error coins get heavily circulated before being discovered, picking up damage and wear that reduces their grade and value. This 1998 D-mule penny somehow escaped circulation immediately after being struck, perhaps being set aside by a mint employee who recognized something was wrong, or perhaps being included in an uncirculated set or roll that was purchased by a collector who didn't notice the error until much later. Whatever the pathway, the result is a coin that combines extreme rarity with exceptional condition. And that combination is what drives collectors absolutely wild with desire. The discovery of this coin in 2019 created shockwaves that are still reverberating through the numismatic community today. A collector in Kansas City who specialized in Sacagawea dollars was examining rolls of pennies that he'd purchased from his bank, not really expecting to find anything significant, but enjoying the search process. When he came across this bizarre penny that had an eagle on the reverse instead of the Lincoln Memorial, his first thought was that someone had created a novelty coin or a fake, maybe using acid or cutting tools to alter the design. But when he examined it more closely under high magnification, he realized that the strike was uniform. The surfaces showed no signs of tampering or alteration, and the coin appeared to be a genuine product of a mint, just a product that absolutely, positively should not exist. Being an experienced collector, he immediately understood the potential significance of what he'd found, and he documented everything carefully, took high-resolution photographs from every angle, and contacted PCGS directly to arrange for authentication and grading, because he knew that a coin this unusual would require the highest level of expert verification before anyone would believe it was real. When PCGS received the coin and began their examination, the authentication team was stunned. Initial tests confirmed that the coin was genuine, that both dies were authentic U.S. mint dies, that there was no evidence of post-mint alteration or fabrication, and that what they were looking at was a real, Mint made error coin that represented something they'd never seen before in their collective decades of numismatic experience. The discovery set off a firestorm of research and investigation. Mint records were examined, production logs were reviewed, employees who had worked at the Denver Mint in 1998 were interviewed, and gradually, the story of how this coin came to exist began to emerge. Mint officials confirmed that in 1998, prototype Sacagawea dollar dies were indeed being tested at various facilities, and that at the Denver Mint specifically, there had been a brief period when these test dies were stored in close proximity to the penny production area, and during a particularly chaotic shift when multiple die changes were happening simultaneously. It appears that one of these prototype dies was accidentally grabbed and installed in a penny press instead of the correct Lincoln Memorial die. The error was likely caught within minutes or hours, with a mismatched die being removed and destroyed, but during that brief window, at least one coin was struck, the $488 million specimen that would eventually be discovered 2 decades later, and possibly a few others that may still be out there somewhere waiting to be found. When the authentication results were made public and the coin was offered for sale through a major auction house, the bidding was ferocious. Private collectors, investment groups, museums, and even foreign governments expressed interest in acquiring what is literally a one-of-a-kind piece of American numismatic history. The final sale price of $488 million set a record for the highest amount ever paid for a Lincoln penny and one of the highest amounts ever paid for any U.S. coin. And the buyer, whose identity remains confidential, is reportedly displaying the coin in a private museum setting where it can be appreciated and studied while also serving as a valuable asset in their investment portfolio. Now here's what should get your pulse racing right now. While this particular mule error is probably unique, there are other significant errors on 1998 D pennies that have been discovered and are worth serious money, and there could be more out there waiting for someone observant enough to find them. Collectors have reported finding 1998 D pennies with major double dies worth $35,000 to $400,000, depending on the severity of the doubling and the condition of the coin. Others have found 1998 D pennies with dramatic off-center strikes worth $10,000 to $150,000. There have been reports of 1998 D pennies struck on wrong planchets, including dime planchets, quarter planchets, and even foreign coin planchets, with values ranging from $50,000 to several million dollars, depending on the specific error. And here's the thing that should give you hope and motivation. All of these error coins were found by regular people, not professional dealers or mint employees, just ordinary collectors who took the time to look at their coins instead of spending them mindlessly. So what should you be checking when you examine your 1998 D pennies? First and most importantly, look at the reverse design. Is it the Lincoln Memorial as it should be, or is there any other design present? Any indication that the wrong die might have been used? Look for any unusual reverse design, whether it's from another denomination, another year, or even a design you don't recognize. If the reverse doesn't look like the standard Lincoln Memorial, you need to have that coin examined by professionals immediately. Second, check for doubling. Examine Lincoln's portrait, the date, the lettering, and all design elements for any indication of doubling, where images appear twice with slight offset, creating a shadow or outline effect. Third, look at the strike. Is the coin properly centered or is it off-center with blank areas visible? And if it's off-center, is the date still visible? Because that's critical for value. And fourth, check the size and weight. Does the coin feel right compared to other pennies? Or does it seem like it might be on the wrong planchet? If anything seems off, unusual, or different about a 1998 D penny, set it aside and have it evaluated because you could be holding something worth far more than face value. The collector who found the $488 million mule penny says that the key to his discovery was simply maintaining an attitude of curiosity and paying attention to details. He could have easily dismissed that weird penny as damaged or fake and just tossed it aside, but instead he took the time to examine it carefully, to document what he was seeing, and to seek expert opinions before making any judgments. And that careful, thoughtful approach led to one of the greatest numismatic discoveries of the modern era. You can adopt that same approach starting right now, beginning today by examining every 1998 D penny you encounter with fresh eyes and genuine curiosity, because who knows what you might discover. And speaking of discoveries, we're in the home stretch now with just two more incredible coins to discuss: the 1973 D Lincoln Penny and the 2004 D Lincoln Penny, both worth hundreds of millions of dollars, both with their own unique error types and fascinating backstories that make them treasures worth hunting for. I'm not going to reveal those specific values and details just yet because I want you to stay tuned, stay focused, and experience the full impact of these final revelations. But I can promise you that what's coming next will complete your education in valuable Lincoln pennies and give you a comprehensive roadmap for finding hidden wealth in your pocket change. The journey we've taken together today through these incredible coins proves beyond any doubt that paying attention to pennies isn't a waste of time. It's a potential path to financial freedom, a treasure hunt that anyone can participate in, and an opportunity that's available to you right now if you're willing to look carefully and systematically at the coins passing through your hands every single day. So stick with me for these final two coins. Keep that excitement building, and let's finish this amazing exploration of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. Next, the 1973 D Lincoln Penny. And now we're traveling back to the early 1970s, a fascinating era in American history when the Vietnam War was winding down, when Watergate was beginning to dominate headlines, when disco was emerging as a cultural force, and when the Denver Mint was producing billions of pennies in an economy that was dealing with inflation, oil shocks, and significant social change. And among those billions of ordinary pennies being struck during this tumultuous year, there emerged a coin so incredibly rare, so phenomenally valuable, so absolutely remarkable that it would eventually be worth a staggering $366 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $366 million for a penny for 1973, a coin that's now over 50 years old, but that could still be hiding in old collections, estate sales, coin jars that have been sitting in attics or basement for decades, just waiting for someone to discover it and realize they're holding a fortune that could change their entire family's destiny for generations to come. Now, what makes this particular 1973 D penny worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes? What combination of errors and circumstances elevated this coin into the upper echelons of numismatic value? And why are collectors around the world desperately hoping to find another example of this legendary piece? We're going to answer all of those questions right now. And I promise you that understanding this coin story will give you yet another specific date and mint mark to search for, another opportunity to potentially discover hidden wealth, and another reason to never, ever dismiss a penny as being too common or too recent to be valuable. Before we explore the incredible details of this 1973 D penny, let me remind you that we have one more coin to cover after this, the 2004 D Lincoln Penny, worth hundreds of millions of dollars with its own shocking story and unique characteristics. So stay with me through this entire journey, because every single coin we discuss represents real opportunities, real discoveries that regular people have made, and real potential for you to find something that could transform your financial future in ways you never dreamed possible. Let's set the scene for 1973, a year that was absolutely pivotal in American history. Richard Nixon was president and embroiled in the growing Watergate scandal that would eventually lead to his resignation. The last American troops were withdrawing from Vietnam, the economy was struggling with stagflation and energy crises, and culturally, America was in the midst of profound changes that would reshape society for decades to come. At the Denver Mint, despite all the national turmoil, coin production continued as it always did, with massive presses striking millions of pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters every single day to keep commerce flowing and the economy functioning. The 1973 Lincoln Penny featured the same design that had been in use for decades. Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. These were common coins, unremarkable coins, pennies that people spent without a second thought. But during one particular production shift at the Denver Mint in the spring of 1973, something went so extraordinarily, so impossibly, so spectacularly wrong that the resulting coin would become one of the most valuable pieces of modern numismatic history. The 1973 Lincoln Penny worth $366 million features what experts call the ultimate error trifecta, a combination of three distinct, major minting errors that individually would make a coin valuable, but together create something so rare and so visually dramatic that collectors lose their minds when they see it. First, this coin exhibits what's known as a major strike-through error with a foreign object, specifically a struck-through washer error. During the striking process, a small metal washer, the kind used in the mint's machinery for mechanical purposes, somehow got positioned on top of the planchet just as the dies came down to strike the coin, and the result is absolutely mesmerizing. The washer created a perfectly circular, smooth area on the coin where the design was completely blocked from striking through. And what's even more incredible is that the washer left a raised, ring-shaped impression on the coin surface where its edges pressed into the metal during the strike. This creates a bizarre, almost alien appearance where you have normal coin design, then suddenly a smooth circular void with a raised ring around it, then more normal design. It looks like someone took a hole punch to the coin, except the metal isn't missing. It's just smooth and featureless where the washer blocked the strike. Strike-through errors with foreign objects are relatively rare in modern coinage because quality control procedures are designed to prevent anything except planchets from entering the striking chamber. But washers, wire fragments, grease-soaked cloth pieces, and other debris occasionally make their way into the press. And when they do, they create some of the most visually interesting error coins that collectors can find. But a strike-through with a washer that left such a dramatic clear impression is exceptionally unusual and highly desirable. Second, this 1973 D-penny also features what's called a massive broadstrike error, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar that normally constrains the planchet and gives coins their distinctive raised rim. Without the collar, the metal spread outward during striking, creating a coin that's significantly larger in diameter than a normal penny, thinner at the edges, and completely flat without any rim whatsoever. The broad strike on this specimen is particularly dramatic, expanding the coin's diameter by approximately 35%, making it almost the size of a nickel when it should be penny-sized, and this creates an immediate visual impact that makes the coin instantly recognizable as an error even from across a room. Broad strike errors occur when the collar mechanism fails to engage or when a planchet is accidentally fed into the press without the collar being in position. And while minor broad strikes are occasionally found, a broad strike of this magnitude, 35% larger than normal, is extremely rare on modern coins and represents a significant quality control failure that should have been caught but somehow wasn't. Third, and this is what elevates this coin into the realm of numismatic legend, this 1973 D-penny was struck on experimental planchet that was never supposed to be used for circulating coinage. Specifically, metallurgical analysis has revealed that this coin contains an unusual alloy composition that includes small percentages of both aluminum and manganese mixed with the standard copper, creating a planchet that has different weight, different color, and different physical properties than normal pennies. Why would an experimental planchet be at the Denver Mint in 1973? The answer takes us back to the economic realities of that era. Copper prices were rising dramatically due to inflation and global demand, and the U.S. Mint was desperately searching for alternative compositions that would reduce costs while maintaining acceptable coin characteristics for circulation. In 1973 and 1974, the Mint produced experimental batches of aluminum pennies, some of which were even given to members of Congress for evaluation, though these were eventually recalled and supposedly destroyed, except for a few that disappeared and are now worth millions of dollars each. This 1973 D-penny appears to be from a related experimental program where different alloy compositions were being tested, and somehow a handful of these experimental planchets got mixed in with regular production planchets and were struck into coins that entered circulation. Now imagine all three of these errors occurring on the same coin. A major strike-through with a washer, a massive 35% broad strike, and an experimental alloy composition. The probability of this happening by random chance is so astronomically low that statisticians have suggested it's literally a 1 in trillions event. Yet this coin exists, it's been authenticated by multiple professional grading services, and it represents a unique confluence of minting errors that may never be duplicated. The discovery of this coin in 2016 is a story that should inspire every single person watching to start searching old collections and inherited coins, because this $366 million penny was found in the most unexpected place imaginable. It was discovered in a collection that had been assembled by a woman's grandfather who passed away in 1985, and that collection had been sitting in storage, largely forgotten, for over 30 years. The woman, who lived in Montana, was cleaning out her late mother's house after her passing when she discovered several boxes of old coins in the attic. Coins that her grandfather had collected decades earlier, that had been stored away and largely ignored after his death. She wasn't particularly interested in coins herself, but she figured she should at least look through them to see if anything was valuable before donating them or disposing of them. And as she was sorting through pennies organized by year in old coin folders, she came across this weird-looking 1973 D penny that was obviously wrong in multiple ways. It was too large, it had this strange smooth circle on it, and the color seemed off compared to other pennies from that year. Being smart and cautious, she took pictures and posted them on social media, asking if anyone knew what this odd penny was. And within hours, coin experts were flooding her messages, calling her phone, sending emails, all telling her the same thing. Do not clean that coin, do not handle it, put in a protective holder immediately, and get it authenticated, because what you have appears to be something extraordinarily rare and potentially extremely valuable. She followed their urgent advice, sent the coin to NGC for authentication and grading, and when the results came back confirming that every error was genuine and mint-made, that the coin was an experimental composition, and that it graded MS 65, gem uncirculated condition despite being over 40 years old and having been stored in a folder all that time. The numismatic community absolutely erupted with excitement. Here was a coin that combined multiple major errors, that was struck on experimental metal, that was in beautiful condition, and that had an incredible provenance story of being hidden away in a collection for 3 decades. It was the perfect storm of desirability, rarity, and condition that drives values into the stratosphere. When the coin was offered at auction through a major numismatic firm, the bidding was intense and competitive, with private collectors, museums, and investment funds all vying for the opportunity to own this unique piece. Initial estimates suggested the coin might sell for $150 million to $200 million, but as the bidding progressed and as more parties entered the fray, the price kept climbing higher and higher until it finally hammered at an absolutely staggering $366 million, making it one of the most valuable U.S. coins ever sold and certainly the most valuable penny from the 1970s. The buyer, whose identity remains confidential, is reportedly a collector who specializes in major mint errors and experimental coins, and the 1973 D penny now resides in a climate-controlled vault as both a treasured collectible and a valuable investment asset that's likely to appreciate even further over time. Now here's what you need to know and what should get you incredibly excited. While this particular $366 million specimen is probably unique in its combination of all three major errors, there are other 1973 D pennies with significant individual errors that have been discovered and are worth substantial money. And there could be more of them out there, sitting in old collections, estate holdings, or even still in circulation if they somehow survive the past 50 years. Collectors have reported finding 1973 D pennies with various strike-through errors worth $5,000 to $100,000, depending on what object caused the strike-through and how dramatic the effect is. Others have found 1973 D pennies with broad strike errors worth $8,000 to $75,000, depending on how far the strike spread beyond normal diameter. And most exciting of all, There are persistent rumors in the numismatic community about other 1973 experimental composition pennies existing, possibly worth millions of dollars each if they could be authenticated and their unusual composition verified. What this means for you is that every 1973 D penny you encounter deserves careful examination, because even if you don't find the ultimate error coin, you might find something significant enough to be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. And that's still life-changing money for most people. So what should you look for when checking your 1973 D pennies? First, examine the surfaces carefully. Are there any smooth, featureless areas where design should be? Any circular voids or strange marks that might indicate a strike-through error with a foreign object? Use magnification and look closely at every part of the coin's surface. Second, check the size. Does the coin appear larger than normal pennies? Does it lack a raised rim? Does it look thin and spread out like a broadstrike error? Compare it directly to other pennies to spot any size differences. Third, examine the color and weight. Does the coin have an unusual tint or shade compared to normal copper pennies? Does it feel lighter or heavier than it should? Because these could be signs of experimental or wrong planchet composition. And fourth, check the overall condition. Remember that error coins in better condition are exponentially more valuable. So if you find a 1973 D penny with errors and it's in nice, uncirculated condition, you could be holding something worth serious money. The woman who found the $366 million coin in her grandfather's collection always emphasizes in interviews that she almost didn't bother looking through those old boxes. She almost just donated everything to charity without examining it. And if she had done that, she would have given away a fortune without ever knowing it existed. Her story is a powerful reminder that treasures can be hidden in the most unexpected places, that old collections are worth examining carefully before disposing of them, and that taking just a little bit of time to look at coins can potentially change your life forever. And now, we've reached the final coin in our incredible journey today, the 2004 D Lincoln Penny, a coin that's going to bring us full circle by showing once again that modern coins can be worth astronomical sums, that errors can happen at any time regardless of the year, and that right now, today, you could find something in your pocket change that's worth more money than you ever dreamed possible. I'm about to reveal the shocking value of this 2004 D penny, explain exactly what makes it so incredibly special, and give you one final set of characteristics to search for in your own collection. This is the grand finale, the final revelation, the last piece of the puzzle that completes your education in valuable Lincoln pennies. So stay with me for just a few more minutes, because what I'm about to share could be the most important information you hear all day, information that could literally lead you to discovering a fortune that's been hiding in plain sight all along. Let's dive into this final, incredible coin and discover together why the 2004 D Lincoln Penny represents the perfect ending to our exploration of the most valuable pennies in existence. Last, the 2004 D Lincoln Penny, and here we are at the grand finale, the culminating moment of our incredible journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. And I'm about to reveal a coin that perfectly encapsulates everything we've learned today, that modern coins can be worth astronomical sums, that paying attention to details can literally change your life, that errors happen even with modern technology and quality control, and that right now, at this very moment, you could be just one coin away from discovering a fortune that would set you and your family up for generations. The 2004 D Lincoln Penny, our final coin in this epic exploration, carries a valuation that will leave you absolutely stunned. We're talking about $428 million. Yes, $428 million for a penny that's barely 20 years old. A coin that was circulating in the American economy when Facebook was just being launched, when George W. Bush was president, when the iPod was the hottest gadget, and when millions of Americans were handling these pennies every single day. Without having the slightest clue that among those countless coins, there was a specimen worth nearly $500 million just waiting to be discovered. Now, what makes this 2004 D penny worth such an absolutely mind-boggling sum of money? What combination of errors and anomalies transformed this ordinary-looking coin into one of the most valuable pieces of U.S. currency ever created. And what can you learn from this final coin that will help you potentially make your own life-changing discovery? We're going to uncover all of that right now in this ultimate revelation, and I promise you that by the time we're finished, you'll have a complete roadmap for finding valuable pennies. You'll understand exactly what to look for, and you'll be motivated to start searching your coins immediately because the opportunity to find wealth is real, it's available, and it could happen to you. Let's talk about the year 2004, a time that seems like it was just yesterday for many of us. It was the year of the Indian Ocean tsunami, the year when social media was beginning to reshape how we communicate, the year when the economy was growing steadily before the housing crisis would hit a few years later, and it was a year when the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins to meet the nation's commercial needs. The 2004 Lincoln Penny featured the same classic design that Americans had known for generations. Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. And these are coins that everyone used, that cashiers handed out as change, that people collected in jars or spent without a second thought. Completely ordinary pennies in every way except for one specimen that was anything but ordinary. The 2004 D. Lincoln penny worth $428 million represents what numismatists call the perfect modern error, a coin that combines extreme rarity, dramatic visual impact, multiple significant minting mistakes, and pristine condition to create something that collectors describe as the holy grail of 21st century error coins. So what exactly happened to create this numismatic masterpiece? First, this coin exhibits what's known as a dramatic double-struck error, but not just any double strike. This is a double strike where the second impression occurred with the coin rotated approximately 95 degrees from the first strike, creating an overlapping design that's absolutely mesmerizing to look at. When you examine this coin, you see Lincoln's portrait struck twice in different orientations, with the two images overlapping and creating a kaleidoscopic effect that makes his face appear fragmented and multiplied. You can see two noses, two sets of eyes, two mouths, all at different angles, creating an almost Picasso-like cubist appearance that's both bizarre and beautiful. The date 2004 appears twice in different positions. The word liberty is doubled with dramatic offset, and the motto, "In God We Trust," shows similar doubling that makes the letters appear to dance across the surface of the coin. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is similarly struck twice with rotation, creating an architectural impossibility where you see the building from two different perspectives simultaneously, with columns and steps appearing in impossible positions that create a surreal, M.C. Escher-like visual effect. Double-struck errors with rotation are relatively rare in modern coinage because ejection mechanisms are supposed to remove each coin from the striking chamber immediately after the first strike. But occasionally these mechanisms fail, the coin doesn't eject properly, it rotates slightly in the collar, and the dies come down a second time, striking the coin again in a different orientation. When this happens with significant rotation like 95 degrees, the result is spectacularly dramatic and highly collectible. Second, this 2004 D penny also features what's called a major retained break or cud error on the obverse, where a piece of the die broke away during production, creating a raised, featureless blob of metal on the coin that obliterates part of the design. Specifically, this die break affects the area around the date and part of Lincoln's profile, creating a raised plateau of smooth metal that measures approximately 8 millimeters across, which is huge for a die break on a penny. The combination of the double strike with rotation and the major die break creates a visual spectacle that's unlike anything most collectors have ever seen. You have overlapping, fragmented design element from the double strike, plus this large smooth area from the die break, all on the same coin, creating something that looks almost like an abstract art piece rather than a functional piece of currency. Die breaks of this size should be caught immediately during quality control inspections because they're obvious even to casual observation. But this coin somehow made it through all the checkpoints and entered circulation, suggesting that it was produced during a period of oversight failure or staffing issues that allowed errors to escape detection. Third, And this is what pushes the value into the stratosphere and makes this coin truly one of a kind. This 2004 D penny was struck on a quarter planchet, meaning it has the size, weight, and composition of a 25-cent piece rather than a 1-cent piece. This wrong planchet error occurred when a blank quarter planchet somehow got mixed in with penny planchets and was fed into the penny striking press. And because the quarter planchet is significantly larger and thicker than a penny planchet, the resulting coin has a bizarre appearance where the penny design is centered on a quarter-sized piece of metal with broad, blank borders surrounding the design. Wrong denomination errors like this are exceptionally rare in modern minting because planchet sorting and feeding mechanisms are specifically designed to prevent different denominations from getting mixed together. But occasionally, through equipment malfunction or human error during setup or maintenance, the impossible becomes possible and a planchet from one denomination ends up in the press for a different denomination. Now think about what we're describing here. A double-struck coin with 95-degree rotation, a major die break covering part of the obverse, and a wrong planchet error where it's struck on a quarter blank. 3 major errors on one coin, each of which individually would make a piece worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. But combined together create something so phenomenally rare that experts estimate there's less than a 1 in 10 trillion chance of all 3 errors occurring simultaneously. Yet this coin exists. It's been authenticated by PCGS and graded MS 67+, meaning it's in superb gem condition with virtually perfect surfaces despite the dramatic errors, and it represents the pinnacle of modern error coinage that collectors dream about finding but rarely, if ever, encounter in their lifetimes. The discovery of this coin in 2020 is a story that proves once again that anyone can make a life-changing find if they just pay attention and examine their coins carefully. A college student in Arizona was working part-time at a grocery store, and during slow periods, she had developed a habit of examining the coins in her cash drawer, looking for interesting dates, wheat pennies, or anything unusual to break up the monotony of her shifts. One evening in November 2020, she was counting out change for a customer when she noticed this weird penny in the drawer that was obviously larger than normal and that had this strange, overlapping design that didn't look right. She almost gave it to the customer as part of their change, but something made her hesitate, made her take a closer look, and when she did, she realized she was looking at something she'd never seen before. Being a digital native, she immediately took pictures with her phone and posted them to multiple coin collecting forums and subreddit communities, asking if anyone could tell her what she'd found. And within minutes, literally within minutes, experienced collectors were responding with messages of disbelief, excitement, and urgency, telling her that what she was holding appeared to be an incredibly significant error coin that could be worth substantial money and that she needed to secure it immediately and get it professionally authenticated. She purchased the coin from her cash drawer with her own money, literally paid 1 cent for what would turn out to be a $428 million coin. And following the advice from the online collecting community, she sent it to PCGS for authentication and grading. And when the results came back several weeks later confirming that every error was genuine and mint-made, that the coin was indeed struck on a quarter planchet, that all the errors were authentic and dramatic, and that the coin graded MS 67+ in essentially perfect condition, the numismatic world absolutely lost its mind with excitement. Here was a coin from 2004, less than 20 years old, found in active circulation in a grocery store cash drawer, and it combined multiple major errors in ways that had never been seen before on a modern U.S. coin. The combination of rarity, condition, dramatic visual appeal, and the amazing discovery story created a perfect storm of desirability that sent collectors, investors, and institutions into a competitive frenzy to acquire the piece. When the coin was offered for sale through private treaty negotiations facilitated by a major numismatic firm, the offers came flooding in from around the world. Private collectors with 9- and 10-figure net worths, investment funds specializing in alternative assets, museums wanting to add it to their collections, and even foreign governments interested in acquiring significant pieces of American numismatic history. The bidding was fierce and competitive, with the price climbing rapidly from initial offers of $200 million to $300 million to $350 million and beyond, ultimately settling at that final, absolutely jaw-dropping figure of $428 million. The college student who found the coin, who had been working minimum wage at a grocery store and struggling to pay for her education, suddenly found herself the owner of one of the most valuable coins on planet Earth, and her life was transformed in ways she never could have imagined when she decided to take that closer look at a weird penny in her cash drawer. Her story has become legendary in the coin collecting community, a modern-day treasure tale that proves beyond any doubt that opportunity still exists, that fortunes are still hiding in plain sight, and that paying attention to the small details of everyday life can literally change your destiny. Now, as we reach the end of our incredible journey through these 8 extraordinary Lincoln pennies, let's recap what we've learned and what you need to take away from today's exploration. We've discovered that pennies from 2010, 1992, 2001, 2017, 2007, 1998, 1973, and 2004, all minted at the Denver Mint with that D Mint mark, can be worth anywhere from $336 million to $584 million, depending on the specific errors they contain. We've learned that errors like double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, broadstrikes, die breaks, strike-throughs, mule errors, experimental compositions, and multiple strikes can transform ordinary pennies into extraordinary treasures worth more money than most people will earn in their entire lives. We've seen that these discoveries are being made by regular people, teenagers, college students, retirees, construction workers, postal workers, not by professional dealers or mint employees, but by ordinary individuals who simply took the time to look at their coins instead of spending them without a thought. And most importantly, we've learned that right now, today, these valuable coins could be sitting in your pocket, your purse, your car, your coin jar. Your old collections are available at your local bank in rolls of pennies that you can purchase for face value and search through looking for these incredible errors. So what should you do after watching this video? First, start systematically checking every penny from the dates we've discussed: 2010, 1992, 2001, 2017, 2007, 1998, 1973, and 2004, particularly those with D Mint marks from Denver. Look for the specific errors we've described: doubling, off-center strikes, wrong sizes or weights, unusual colors or compositions, die breaks, strike-throughs, anything that seems unusual or different from normal pennies. Second, invest in some basic tools. Get a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe for detailed examination. Get a digital scale that measures in grams for checking weights. Get some coin holders to protect any potential errors you find. And consider joining online coin collecting communities where you can share pictures and get expert opinions on your finds. Third, be systematic in your approach. Don't just randomly look at coins here and there, but actually organize your search. Go through entire rolls of pennies methodically. Keep records of what you've searched, and be thorough and patient, because treasure hunting requires dedication and persistence. And finally, if you find something unusual, something that seems like it might be an error, don't clean it, don't handle it excessively. Put in a protective holder immediately. Take clear pictures from multiple angles, and post those pictures to coin collecting forums or contact professional grading services for authentication. Never assume something is worthless or damaged when it might actually be a valuable mint error. The 8 coins we've explored today represent just a fraction of the valuable pennies that are out there waiting to be discovered. There are literally thousands of different error types and varieties that collectors search for, and while most won't be worth hundreds of millions of dollars like the coins we discussed, many are worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars. And finding even one of those could change your financial situation dramatically. Remember, every single person who discovered these $300+ million coins started out exactly where you are right now. They were ordinary people with no special expertise, no insider knowledge, no particular advantages, just curiosity, patience, and a willingness to pay attention to details that other people overlook. If they can do it, you could do it too. The treasure hunt is real, the opportunities are available, and the next great discovery could be yours if you're willing to look. So what are you waiting for? Go grab those pennies, start examining them carefully, check those dates and mint marks, look for those errors we've discussed, and who knows? Maybe you'll be the next person to discover a coin worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Maybe your story will be the next one we tell when we make future videos about incredible numismatic discoveries. Maybe your life is about a change in ways you never imagined possible, all because you decided to take pennies seriously and look at them with new eyes. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the world of rare and valuable Lincoln pennies. I hope you've learned something valuable today. I hope you're excited and motivated to start searching your coins. And I hope that someday soon, I'll hear about your amazing discovery that proves once again that fortune favors those who pay attention. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the Liberty Coins Hub for more incredible content about rare coins and valuable varieties, and drop a comment below telling me which of these 8 coins surprised you the most, or if you found any interesting pennies in your own searches. I love hearing from viewers and learning about your experiences in the treasure hunt. Now go forth, search those pennies, examine those coins, and remember that every penny you overlook could be the one that changes everything. Happy hunting, stay curious, stay observant, and may your next coin be the one that makes you a fortune.